They didn't conquer the world with guns, they conquered it with debt. While soldiers marched and ships crossed oceans, a handful of men in London wrote numbers into ledgers, and those numbers changed the fate of continents. The British Empire wasn't built by generals or kings, it was built by bankers. Every colony, every war, every railway was financed not by treasure, but by trust. And that trust was signed, sealed, and sold in the City of London. This is the story of how finance, not firepower, made Britain the most powerful empire in history, and how the loans that built it still echo through the world today. Chapter 1. How Empires Paid for War. Every empire begins with ambition, but ambition costs money. In the 1700s, Britain was fighting wars on almost every front: France, Spain, America, India. Each cannon fired, each soldier fed, each ship built demanded silver, not slogans. Taxes alone couldn't fund it all, so Britain turned to a new kind of weapon: credit. The government began issuing bonds, promises to pay later, backed by the crown itself. Investors bought them by the millions, believing the empire's victories would pay the interest. War became a business, and the business of empire turned into British Empire finance, a web of debt that tied together soldiers, merchants, and monarchs. But soon, one company would take this system even further, and in doing so, become more powerful than the government itself. Chapter 2. The company that became an empire. The East India Company began as a trading venture. It was supposed to buy and sell spices, silk, and tea. Instead, it became a shadow government. At its peak, it had a private army larger than Britain's. It ruled over millions of people in India. But empires, even corporate ones, need capital. So the company borrowed. It issued bonds and bills, turning conquest into investment. London bankers bought these bonds, expecting the riches of Bengal and Bombay to pay them back. The company's debt was enormous, but so were its profits. It was a self-sustaining machine. Conquer land, collect taxes, repay loans, borrow again. But in 1772, that machine broke. The company's finances collapsed, triggering a credit crisis across Britain. And when the company begged the government for help, something shifted forever. The government realized that saving the company meant saving the empire itself. From that moment on, empire and finance became one. Chapter 3. The Rise of the Merchant Bankers. The East India Company showed the way, but it was the merchant bankers who perfected the art of empire through money. These weren't ordinary bankers, they were global operators, dealing not just in currency, but in power. Among them, one family stood above all others: the Rothschilds. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, a German immigrant in London, built a banking network unlike anything the world had ever seen. He could move money faster than any army could march. When Britain needed to fund wars against Napoleon, it turned to him. Through couriers, gold shipments, and coded messages, Rothschild's network financed armies across Europe. By the time Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo, the Rothschilds weren't just rich, they were untouchable. They had proven a truth that would define the next century. Whoever controls the debt controls the empire. Chapter 4. Credit and control debt was no longer a burden, it was a weapon. Every colony Britain touched became bound not just by law or flag, but by loans. India, for example, built its railways using money raised in London. Investors in the city bought bonds. The revenues from Indian taxes repaid them. Ports, canals, telegraph lines, all financed through loans that tied the colonies to the metropole. This wasn't charity, it was strategy. The debt guaranteed British influence long after the battles had ended. A colony could rebel, but it couldn't default. And so the empire expanded, not just across land, but across balance sheets. Chapter 5. The Suez Gamble. By 1875, the empire's greatest prize wasn't a colony, it was a canal. The Suez Canal was the shortcut to India, the route that cut weeks off the journey from London to Bombay. But Egypt, which owned a major share, was drowning in debt. So when the Egyptian ruler needed cash, Britain's Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli saw an opening. He borrowed $4 million overnight from the Rothschilds to buy Egypt's shares. No debates, no delay. Within days, the British government owned the lifeline to its empire. Once again, loans had achieved what wars could not. And the empire's true crown wasn't made of jewels, it was made of interest payments. Chapter 6. The Cost of Credit. But every empire built on debt faces the same danger: default. As the 19th century wore on, more colonies began to struggle under the weight of their own borrowing. Taxes rose to service loans. Local economies bent under the strain. In India, railways that were meant to bring prosperity drained resources to pay dividends to London investors. The empire's brilliance was its cruelty. It didn't need to rule by force when it could rule through finance. When a country couldn't repay, Britain simply took over. Debt collection became colonization by another name. Chapter 7. The Legacy of the Secret Bank. When the British Empire faded, its credit system didn't. It evolved. Today, the same financial arteries still run through global markets, from development loans to infrastructure projects. The language has changed, but the logic hasn't. Countries still borrow, investors still profit, and influence still follows the money. The history of debt and empire isn't over. It's simply rebranded, because the truth is, empires fall. Debt doesn't.